That sounded so clean, didn't it? So I got our nightcap. Welcome to the nightcap with Joe Soro on the LFB. So on the eve of the Rose Bowl, uh, someone had snuck in a really, really good bottle of Hennessy. Um, and it just so happens to be a sponsor by the NBA. I didn't see this until tonight. So I figured it was fitting to go solo with a bottle of Hennessy sponsored by the NBA with my I know it's hard to see from the ice, but these are Soro logoed glasses, and I usually have a cigar that sits in this, but I'm not yet in the mode of a cigar at this moment. But again, cheers to everyone. This is the first night of the Lakers Nightcap solo. I hope I don't sound like I'm about to do some kind of a love line. That's not what I'm here for. But top of the evening to you all. Uh, for those of you who were here earlier tonight, listening to the show, we uh, we had discussed a little bit about yesterday's game as well as the game coming up here against the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow. I'm going to do my best to try and connect with you guys here during the Lakers night cap. I want to make sure that you guys are involved. I want to make sure I answer all your questions. And we're going to venture into all kinds of areas here. We want to make sure that the entertainment value is at its highest peak here. Uh, the rants generally will take place after games, which this show will obviously play a factor in that as games continue. I did see some of the games tonight. I know Phoenix came back from a rather large deficit. I know Paul George had a pretty good night for the Clippers against the Thunder. But at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting to get a little uncomfortable in terms of where the Lakers play into all this. The Lakers are going to have to make a decision on whether they want to take the remaining half season seriously or not. We're not going to know until we start seeing some consistent wins. Wins is the most important thing. Uh, yeah, Darren, taking a nap sometimes works. I've actually done that a couple times this week where I'll nap around 9 p.m. and then wake up around 10 right before the show starts. So nothing new here. Sometimes you gotta have that bodybuilder kind of schedule. If you look at a lot of bodybuilders, what they'll do is they'll sleep in between their workouts and their food. Uh, just because sometimes that's just what it calls for. Your body, you lay down for a second, all of a sudden your body's like, "Hey, man, I need to take a quick power nap." So here we are. But it's going back in terms of what went on tonight. We saw some good basketball tonight between the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings, and of course the Clippers taking down the Thunder. This trip for the Thunder in LA didn't work out too well the last couple of days. I know they're going to be wishing to get back to OKC and get kind of regroup, which you saw their age yesterday. I think that's something that we tend to forget with the NBA basketball culture is it's very easy to anoint these days, and it's not just basketball; it's any sport. Anytime a second string or a third string quarterback this year, anytime he had a good run for about a week or two, Tommy DeVito being one in New York, or uh, Mason Rudolph for 3 weeks in Pittsburgh. There's this constant like need for validation of a much higher hierarchy than they probably should get. Uh, Sports is difficult already with how the preparation needs to be done and how team sports teammates following through can help. And the second one of those things goes off, obviously the thing can all fall apart. If you don't believe me, just look at how the Philadelphia Eagles season ended. This was a team that was basically running everybody over for 11 to 12 weeks, and then I don't know what uh, entity came out and took their souls, but it was pretty sad to see how their downfall went to the point where they lost to Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. I wasn't expecting that. I was actually expecting them to win at least one playoff game and then maybe lose in the divisional round. But again, that something going on in Philly. I don't know if somebody was messing with somebody's significant other or they just decided to tune out Sirianni at a random time. But that's kind of where that is. Uh, but as far as the how that can pertain to the Lakers, that's a it's a good lesson to go by and making sure that if you're the Lakers, you don't want to get caught up in this. What's going on in the locker room? All this news about how there were six people that talked to the Athletic about how they're not clicking with Darvin Ham. We don't need anybody going underground to know that things aren't clicking in the locker room. And the reason why they're not clicking is because the game plan isn't being executed, whether it's the talent, whether it's the players don't want to do it, or whether the head coach isn't conveying it to them well enough. It could be several things there. We're going to continue to find out here what's going on. So, Mission, your question is what causes rhythm and confidence to fall with our Lakers? To me, there's plenty of signs. Well, that's a heck of a question, Mish. I, you know, Rhythm and confidence can come from the genesis of rhythm and confidence, in my view, is talent. I'm still in that. I'm still stuck in whether this team is talented enough because I go back and forth. Sometimes I see some things and I'm like, wow, I didn't. That was a great decision. That was three quarters of exactly what we needed. Jared Vanderbilt being a good example. Here was a guy that couldn't make a layup if it was 8 feet high. That's how bad he was around the rim or just in general uh, dribbling the ball. And here in this last game, you saw him steal the ball and go three quarters of the way and get the layups. And that's with sometimes with some resistance. So what changes that rhythm and that confidence? The old adage is sometimes you just need to see the ball go through the hoop. That's why sometimes if a jump shooter keeps missing shots, a lot of times it's best to get to the hole and just get an easy layup, maybe some kind of a pick and roll, maybe an alley oop. Excuse me, something just to feel that sensation of the ball going through the hoop and then maybe getting your shot back. And I think if you look at the Vanderbilt situation in the last game, I think you can look at that rhythm and confidence from that instance. When he had that first feeling of the ball going in and not missing that shot, because that could have changed everything for him if he had missed a shot. But it didn't. It went in and it turned out to be something where he got the confidence and the rhythm to do it again a couple other times. I think he had three steals last night, and the steals meant more than just a single steal. Each one seemed to be a momentum changer, a momentum shifter, and they were pretty good last night in getting into those passing lanes and getting the ball to the hoop after that. And that's the stuff that's kind of tough right now. The team works very well when it's in fast mode, when the confidence and the rhythm is going, and when they're running fast, you don't have time to think about mistakes. You're rolling and you're going and you're playing ball like you're supposed to. And that's kind of with a 39-year-old LeBron James, that's the only hiccup there. It's like, can he sustain that for another half season here plus a playoff run? Um, we're gonna have to depend on it, unfortunately, and see what happens. As far as tomorrow is concerned, my main concern is going to be, will Dallas play like Dallas does against the Lakers? Are they going to make every shot? Are they going to make every shot, whether it's contested or whether the Lakers decide to start playing off the ball like they normally do? I would highly recommend that at some point here, like right now, that the Lakers stop allowing these open shots throughout the game. It's debilitating. It's stuff that just doesn't look right. I think they've had some success in guarding the three all game long. I know it's taxing, but that's why a lot of these guys are young guys. I believe they should be able to do that. LeBron, you gotta hit and miss on that because you can't have him running around all over the place. Uh, but it's worth it. At least if one guy is doing it, it's worth it because LeBron does bring other things to the table, and we want to make sure he doesn't get burnt out as well. Um, so Darren Joe tell them that Hardaway Jr. already made a three to something. Oh man, I only hear Hardaway Jr. when they plays the Lakers. I hardly ever hear anything uh, outside the Laker Maverick games. Is this guy got something against the Lakers? I'm not sure. I don't remember anybody doing anything like that. I don't remember if the Lakers ever jilted him in free agency or something. But what is it with Hardaway Jr. and the Lakers and him hitting just open threes when he doesn't usually do them? For those of you who have come in late, the nightcap tonight is NBA sponsored Hennessy, and I didn't know this was in my liquor cabinet, so I thought it was fitting that we would have a nightcap from a drink that the NBA logo is on everywhere. Look at that, everywhere you go. See, I'm getting a little choked up just talking about it. So, the plan for tomorrow night, are the Lakers going to play the rest of the season like they need to start thinking about an actual playoff seed? Are they talking about it? Will they look at the first half of the season? We're officially halfway through the season. Are they going to finally say, look, we've kind of went easy here the first half of the season. So, and everyone looks like they're healthy now. Now we're going to go after it. I'm going to be looking at that starting tomorrow. I want to see if that's really what it is. And it's not because I'm assuming that's what it is. It's something that Darvin Ham had hinted that we are too involved in each game, which, by the way, is one of the more lame things I've ever heard from a coach in any profession, especially a professional league. You're supposed to care for every game. That's what you're getting paid to do. And at this point, you're halfway through the season, and now you need to start thinking about, are you going to really want to deal with a play-in again this coming year, or you want to solidify yourself as a shoe-in for the playoffs? And on top of that, are you going to own home court in the first round? Because if you got to go through 4 rounds to win a championship on the road for the first 2 games, the reality there is you are going to lose. There's just the odds are worse than a perfect game in baseball. A team going 4 rounds all on the road to start each series. So that's going to be an important thing. Levine is the greatest shooting guard ever. SJ, I'm sorry, JS at J. I don't know what the. I don't even know if that's trolling. That almost feels like you're trying to trick somebody. I'm curious on why that would even come to your mind, let alone to actually write it. Everyone's mental focus right now is very similar to when the starting quarterback of a team, let's say in football, isn't performing well. What is the first feeling you get? You go, oh, we need to put in the backup, right? The simplest thing. There's a reason why quarterbacks are backups typically. And they're backups because that's what their skill set is. So the flavor of this first couple months of the season has been Zach LaVine, because the basketball world knows that the Chicago Bulls want to unload that contract, and he has talent, and he could help a team win. The issue there, folks, is what are the Lakers willing to give up to get him? Because they can't just go and throw a couple contracts at anybody or at the Bulls and get him over there. There's collective bargaining agreement and salary cap issues that won't allow that, unless of course you've got the team. Then at that point, it's a moot point. It's just not going to work. Uh, Search. I don't really get drunk. I'm a grown man. Grown men don't technically really get drunk. I get a nice clean buzz, and usually it's the first couple sips. If you want to see me drunk, I would say, oof, it would take an, an absorbent amount of alcohol for me to get drunk. I have a natural switch off in my head where I'll have a few drinks and then my body goes into kind of shift mode and it goes, okay, slow down on that third drink to the point where by the time I get to the fourth drink, I've kind of sustained a little bit of an even like mindset on what to drink. You can take shots to kind of speed up the process, but I take the, I always think that shots is kind of a juvenile thing. I mean, that's like a college thing, isn't it? Who really takes shots? I'm not saying not do it, but it's a special occasion on a shot. Usually, I like to do what I'm doing here: put some ice in a nice glass, pour some drinks straight up, and then just have a sip a little here and there. Control is a big thing, folks. Control. Control freaks in the right places are the kind of people you want in your life. Control freaks who try to take advantage of you, you want to stay away from them. There's two differences. It's kind of like the good ego and the bad ego. You want to stay away from the people with the bad egos. The bad egos get what they want at your expense. The good egos are the ones usually that protect you. They protect you so that good things can happen. Because kind of like the whole Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant versus, let's say, who had a big ego and didn't come through. Like somebody like, remember back in the day, Isaiah Ryder had all the talent in the world, had the ego to go with it. Problem is he couldn't execute it. So you got to be careful with that one. Um, let's see, straight up Henny is like water, brown water. Yeah, and that's the point. That's the point, Dante. This was a staple in college with me and my boys. We like to keep it simple. We like to be, we like to get a nice little buzz going, and that's really what this is now. And it's not too heavy. It's an acquired taste for sure. Not everybody can drink Hennessy, but I've been drinking it for a very long time. Every now and then, I usually like to stick to like a honey jack with a mixer in it, or maybe a little Tito's with a little mix as well. Just depends on kind of what's available and what's going on there. Um, yes, Serge, thanks for reminding everybody. Again, folks, if you're listening to the show for the first time, this is technically the first Lakers Nightcap solo with me. I usually like to have somebody with us, like Gerald, or if it's Sean, or Jamie, or down the road maybe Tom, if he can stay awake, which usually he can't. The point of this show is to do a couple of things. Number one, continue the post game stuff because sometimes certain crowds do want a little bit more, and obviously being alone, there's a little bit more of a one on one with the commentator, and I can get the questions a little bit more without any distraction. And if anybody wants to, throw in their drinks, go ahead and let me know. I can go to the Bevmos and get some there and honor your recommendation, if you will. But so going back to tomorrow's game, I think it's going to be important to the Lakers have to get some kind of a winning streak here that's going to go beyond 3 or 4 games. I think they're in desperate need of a 5 or 6 game winning streak here to make up some ground from areas that they really butchered. I mean, there have been way too many um, homestands here that they've botched, and right now they got Dallas tomorrow. They're going to have Brooklyn, which I think is a very winnable game. They have Portland on Sunday. That's a very winnable game. So if they win tomorrow, based off who they're playing, they could very well have a clean week. We're talking about 4 games, 4 wins. So you beat Oklahoma City on Monday. If you can beat Dallas tomorrow, then you got Brooklyn and Portland, who are not juggernauts. And then that's how you kind of start getting this stuff going. Now you're going to have to meet the Clippers in a week. Luckily, it's at home, even though it's a Clipper home game. But you go into that game uh, with the feeling that you're not going to be pressed to have to win if you've won 4 in a row. I would like to get a sweep on the Clippers for the year. This would be their 3rd game against the Clippers. If they can go ahead and, muster enough to get another win against LA, it would be nice to kind of make up for what the Clippers had done to the Lakers the last few years. Tomorrow is going to likely be the game where the Lakers are going to have to really pay attention to Mr. Irving. Mr. Irving's been having a pretty good few weeks here. And of course, Luka tends to do what Luka does. Who are they going to put on Luka, and who are they going to put on Kyrie Irving? This is going to be a team effort if there ever was one, because there's no single player. Maybe Vanderbilt, you could put one-on-one. You could somewhat kind of contain Kyrie, but then you have to deal with him on the offensive side. So if he's, bumbling and stumbling and turning the ball over on offense, and then, Kyrie's going to get some, some no matter what, those things might be a problem. So this is going to have to be a team defense type situation where Darvin Ham's going to really have to funnel a lot of these guys to the basket and to AD waiting for him. Otherwise, the Lakers are going to have to probably go tit for tat shooting. So if they're going to be shooting 43, they're going to shoot 43 pointers tomorrow. The question is, are they going to make 20 or are they going to make 10? If they make 10, Lakers likely win this game. If they make 20, I think the Lakers are going to be in trouble unless they match those numbers. And that's kind of where I stand on that. But yeah, Darren, I think Vando on Kyrie's really going to be the only way that there's going to be any kind of consistency throughout the game to try and at least put some cover over Kyrie. Otherwise, he's just going to continue to make the game. But I'm going to predict that it'll be a close game. It'll be a close game, and maybe the Lakers can break away at the end, maybe with 5-6 minutes left, just kind of like how they did with Oklahoma City. And at that point, it doesn't matter. Just get the win. Let's get the momentum of a winning streak here going, and then we can go from there. How this thing turns out the rest of the month, I know there's more talk now about trade deadline stuff. Looking at some of the rumors right now going on in the NBA, there's some information that the Raptors and the Pacers are engaged in trade talks for Siakam and Bruce Brown. I had not talked enough about the Bruce Brown thing to Indiana. Bruce Brown was one of those quintessential contract year type players where he played above his head in Denver, and I knew he'd come down to earth once he left. And that happens a lot, and that's something we want to pay attention to in terms of talent acquisition. We don't want to go after guys that we know that are just going to play hard for money. What this team needs is they need someone, either some kind of a third star that somehow materializes, or they need a couple guys that can fill in some gaps like a backup center, even though Christian Wood's been playing really well lately, and then possibly someone that maybe could hit some open shots. Who those guys are, I've scoured the rosters of the NBA, and I really honestly don't know who would make a difference. You've got the Bogdanoviches, you got the Capellas, you got the Murrays, but you just don't know what setup would make sense. Most of the setups, most of the trades that would work under the current CBA and money-wise, it seems to continue to go to that lateral movement area instead of upping the talent pool and the ability to do it. All that Sim Blades Money Joe should gift and T-shirt to a member because we broke. Hey, I've been gifting people. Mission. I gifted Darren. We gifted a couple guys, but I know it's probably coming time where we might need to throw out some nice gear for maybe some birthdays or maybe some special wins. But again, guys, this is the first time I've ever had a solo show. I usually don't like the solo shows, but there's been some interest, and you know how we are here at Lakers Fast Break. What the audience wants, they're supposed to get because that's how this is supposed to work. So when we see a complaint, when we see a request, we do our best to try to make sure that those requests are met because we want you to keep coming, right? I mean, I don't usually drink at 11 o'clock at night. I usually don't drink at home, but it's the Lakers Fast Break Nightcap. This is what you guys want. I got my fireball right there. I got the letters there. You're starting to see more and more of the personality, with the pinky going up, because that's what you guys want, right? And I'm glad you want it. We're gonna give it to you. And right now, we got a lot of stuff that's coming up here. We got a lot, obviously, with the Lakers kind of coming through the gate here in the second half of the season. Uh, we haven't gotten bored yet. The losing sucks, but it seems like a lot of times when the losing hits, there's more activity going on, especially with the shows. And uh, entertainment never stops. Entertainment never stops. I was sick for a few weeks there. My throat's still kind of coming up a little bit still, but there was some times there where I start thinking, man, uh, I might be going a little overboard. But apparently, some of the emails that we got, people appreciated what we were doing. And really, guys, that's what it is. You try to gauge what you guys want. Maybe you take it a little bit above the 9 RPMs, but in the end, you guys seem to like what we're doing here, and we're going to continue to give you what you need. So if you guys have any questions besides the normal stuff, let's say I've been getting a lot of trade questions. I think we've addressed those in the last couple shows. Thanks, Darren, for the super chat. Go ahead and answer your question here, Joe. Do your thing, Inc. LeBron will play better defense, see playoffs. I know he tries conserve energy. Okay, so try not to be too preachy here. LeBron has in life there's the rule and then there's the exception. Always know this. Always know this. There's the rule and then there's the exception. So based off Darren's super chat, LeBron cannot exert full energy game in and game out. He's already playing way too many minutes. Okay. He's playing way too many minutes. And if he gets lazy on a couple of plays, we got to give him the benefit of the doubt because he is doing godly things on the other side of the court. And he'll have his signature block from the other side of the court at least once a month. We know he'll be that guy. And if we can have him preserved as best we can, so that if we do get into the playoffs and there is a chance that they might be able to make a run, I'd rather risk a couple easy layups from his opponents and make sure that LeBron doesn't get burnt out. That's something that you guys have to factor into that. Now, anyone else, no one gets that treatment. LeBron has earned what veterans in the league call Friday off. I get Friday off. I get Thursday off. I remember Hines Ward got, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, and he'd do the walkthrough on Fridays towards the end of his career. That guy put his body in every which way in terms of harm's way for 12 years. And some guys earn that particular benefit. You don't treat every player the same. I actually am in that boat. You don't treat every player the same. There are certain guys that have earned certain privileges, and LeBron obviously is one of them. Thanks, Serge. I appreciate that, man. I much appreciate it. The main focus right now is if the Lakers are indeed going to turn it up here. which I'm hoping they do. They need to be focused on all the young guys and all the guys that are now healthy, on making sure that they are engaged on both sides of the court and making sure that they limit these mistakes. Limit the mistakes. Limit the fundamental mistakes. Those are the things that I'm going to be looking for in the second half of the season. Can you limit the dumb plays? Because there's been way too many of those in the first half. You want to blame it on injuries. You want to blame it on getting acclimated with the new guys playing together. A lot of these guys have been playing together for a minute, but maybe because they didn't have a training camp. I don't know. I'm starting to use excuses now, but at this point, there is no excuse. We're gonna have to figure out what's going on here. So let's see here. What do we got? Yeah, JY. Keeping it real. I you know, it's an interesting topic. I've gone back and forth on that, especially on the show. Do we want to keep it real all the time? The easy answer to that is no. We can't, because it zaps the enthusiasm. So there's this balance sometimes that you have to be careful of. If we get on here and we're Stone Cold Hansen, Stone Cold Hansen is, he don't mess around. Like, no matter what, he's going to tell you the truth. You want to talk about real? Stone Cold Hansen is as real as they come. That's why I love that guy. And he's got the cred to back up what he says too. We're talking about a guy for 2 years who watched 13 hours of basketball. We're talking about high school. We're talking about college games. We're talking about the kind of research that none of us do, not even us basketball buffs. This guy did it, which is why we've been begging for him to continue to come onto the show, because he's got insight on stuff that we just can't know because we're not doing it. And we're not together with any GMs in the league. And a lot of these GMs, I bet, didn't watch as much basketball as Stone, which down the road, we're going to campaign for that sucker to get a job in the NBA. I know if I get any pull, if I get any kind of avenue to any kind of big wig over there, man, I'm going to be campaigning for our guy, Stone Cold Hansen. And getting back to that is, we can't be too real 100% of the time because it doesn't feel good. There needs to be some positiveness. There needs to be some kind of feeling where, okay, you know what? Maybe something here might work. And again, at the end of the day, guys, we still have LeBron and AD on the team. So there's always that chance. And that chance materializes. Yesterday, I felt like I felt the entire game that the Lakers are going to win. And that hasn't happened a lot this year. It just doesn't happen, right? But excuse me. But yesterday I felt it. I felt like, you know what? Oklahoma City's not hitting their shots. Lakers are getting in between those passing lanes, and they're getting easy buckets. Sure, they were having issues with their rebounding in certain spots, but they would take care of a certain part that I enjoy, which is they were cutting down on a lot of the Oklahoma City plays by either getting them in turnover issues, or just flat out stealing the ball and getting the ball down the court and making layups. Those are the things that I want to see. I want to see more of that, because those are the things that boosts up that enthusiasm and that confidence. And it did, obviously, for Jerry Vanderbilt, because I hadn't seen him play that with that much confidence all year. Let's see here. Search. Yeah, Search. You're a searcher, buddy. You search between all the shows here, and I gotta commend you on that. Your dedication and your ability to get into all these shows. I wish I had more time to listen to EJ and Lakers in Five. And again, Lakers in Five, we salute you. You're here almost every show saluting us. God bless you, man. I hope your show continues to get bigger and bigger as it goes. And of course, EJ, one of my favorite voices in any podcast or any radio. Uh, EJ, Empire Jeff, if you're listening, if you're watching, continued success. I'm going to probably have you on the show here soon, because I'd like to spit some game with you. I know you've been starting talk about the Dodgers a little bit. Training camp's going to be starting here in about a month. I should say the pitchers are going to start reporting. So we're definitely going to start talking Dodger baseball here, even on a Laker channel, because LA is starting to cook, guys. LA is starting to cook. Um, I'm curious to see if Dean Spanos will finally figure something out and get someone of some relevance in the captaincy. They've interviewed Jim Harbaugh. Whether Jim Harbaugh decides to defect or not, boy, if Jim Harbaugh comes to LA and coaches the Chargers, LA is going to be an interesting place here in the next year. So, but I am also hearing that Michigan might be bringing them back. I don't know. That's working for Dean Spanos. For those of you who pay attention, not a good owner. So Jeff and Dan doing Dodgers Joe. Yeah, this is the Lakers fast break nightcap. But I know that a lot of our audience here does like to talk in between other things. Sometimes we might delve into some social topics because they all kind of coincide with what's been going on in sports in general. And then, of course, uh, the the Dodgers and the Lakers and most teams in general. I've noticed a lot of times everybody has kind of the same problem where there's this disconnect with the leadership in the coaching ranks. Sometimes it's an executive issue where you don't know if they're making the right calls or they're drafting the right people, and then does it advance into the day to day games and how that kind of goes about what's going on. Chargers are going to charge it. Yeah, it's see. I still feel bad for San Diego. I feel like there was a missed opportunity there 4 years ago, where I believe if the city of San Diego had just voted for a stadium, they'd have a nice, bright new stadium downtown San Diego right now next to Petco, and I think it would be a better atmosphere for the NFL to have a team in San Diego. There'd be Super Bowls there. No offense to Inglewood and SoFi. If you've ever been to Inglewood, sorry, Gerald. I know that's Gerald's uh, birthright, but I prefer to go to San Diego to watch sports versus going to LA. LA is kind of a little hectic, but the Rams are going to be interesting. I'm going to see. We're going to see some. It seems like Sean McVay has been hinting at possibly leaving the last few years. This is the first time I heard him with some enthusiasm. He must have discovered something with some of the younger crew that came in. Maybe they re-energized his enthusiasm. And Matt Stafford seems to be the Energizer Bunny, man. That guy, no matter how much he gets the beat out of him, he just seems like he never loses anything. As long as he's on the field, he's pretty effective. They get a couple of really good defensive players in the draft, and then maybe a couple of good linemen. They're going to be dangerous. I think the Rams will be back and contending next year. Let's see, Dan doing the Rams soon. See, the Rams, even though they're popular in LA, I still don't feel the vibe yet. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know. They even won a Super Bowl, and I feel like they haven't gotten the vibe yet. Uh, Lakers still rule. I think the Dodgers might, if the Lakers struggle and don't win much the rest of the year, I think you're going to start seeing a little bit of a shift of the Dodgers taking over, especially if they win the World Series. Because right now, other than the Yankees in the 2000s, right after they had lost to the Diamondbacks in 2001, where they almost four-peated, there was a spending spree by the late great George Steinbrenner, where they were supposed to continue that run, and they didn't win a World Series again for 9 seasons. They ended up uh, losing early in '02. They did go to the World Series in '03 and uncharacteristically lost to me an inferior Florida Marlins team in that year. But the Marlins kind of hit a stride like baseball does, and ended up beating the Yankees in 6 that year. And then, of course, '04, '05, '06, '07, and '08, 5 straight years of outspending everyone in Major League Baseball and not being able to get to the World Series until finally getting there in '09 and beating the Phillies in 5. And then that was it in terms of the Jeter era. So baseball's different. You just don't, you can accumulate all the talent you want, but they still got to execute when it matters. And baseball's getting harder and harder to win more and more now because they've created more games. Now you have a wild card game, you have a bye week, which I was never ever a supporter of a bye week in baseball. Baseball is ridiculously fickle. The second you're off for 3 days, your rhythm goes out. Maybe it helps certain pitchers, but even then, it's too much. When you're playing 162 games, you're playing 6 days a week for 6 months. Getting off that rhythm can throw you off pretty bad. And most teams that get that week off or 4 or 5 days off, they usually lose. So I don't. I'm not a big fan of the new format. I actually would just prefer it being, just make it 6 teams and uh, well, actually, I don't know if they want to do 8 teams, but make it where there's no bye week. But at this point, it is what it is. With that, we're going to go back to the Lakers here. If any of you guys have any questions that you need answered, whether it's for tomorrow night's game or in general, what's going to happen this week is big. And it's big because every week is becoming more and more important because of the lackluster performances the last few weeks and not taking advantage of some of these, home games. So if you have any questions, shoot them my way. What do you think? What do you think's going to happen this week? Do you finally see the Lakers taking advantage of their situation? They're going to be at home. Even their one road game here in the next week is at home. Can they run the table this week and get some momentum going their way? Because we're talking about if they win the next 4 home games, they're now sitting at 24-21, which is much better than being 21-24, because that's the alternative, right? So where does it go? And what will determine the trade? We need something. What we're going to get is the question. What can we get? Who are we going to sacrifice in the deal? Is there a team out there that will say, you know what, Lakers, we're going to make you the deal of a lifetime because you're going to do this for us? Is there a secret team out there that can do that? Is it just Atlanta? Is it just Chicago? Toronto, Gary Trent Jr.'s and all that. You guys know how I feel about Masai. I know that he's not the ideal GM to do business with. Plus, I don't think there's a player there that's really going to make a difference at this point. But that's going to be the question: will Rob work in a stealth manner? Will something come out of nowhere? A month is going to take forever, by the way, because we're anticipating what's next. We do know that something's going to happen, but it's going to be what is going to happen. What is really going to happen? Yes, I agree, Mission. There's a town called Old Town, and they have all the authentic Mexican restaurants. Now, if you talk to Americans in America, typically, and even the Chicanos here, as funny as this sounds, most don't like traditional Mexican food, which is abundant there in Old Town. They usually like the Tex-Mex because that's what they're used to eating. So unless you're probably born in Mexico or Latin and born in that in any of that region in the Central America area or any area in Mexico, typically you're not going to like the authentic Mexican food. It's a little too. It's just different. The flavor is different. The seasoning's different. But I will say this: if you guys are in the San Diego metro area, okay, I'm telling you this right now, and this is not exaggeration. I highly recommend, and this is one of the things I want to do, probably within the next 2 to 3 years. It's been on my mind since forever. It's just that I'm not a restaurant guy. I don't run restaurants, but I believe I have some people in my circles that could run it. but there's a place called TJ Oysters. It's actually TJ Oyster. They have the greatest fish taco that's ever been created, ever. So if you're in San Diego, there's a city called Chula Vista. About, let's say, if you're in central San Diego, Mission Valley area, that's the name where old Qualcomm used to be. Now it's Snapdragon Stadium for the San Diego State football team and high school football teams um, to play their CIF games. Uh, but from there, there's a 15, 20-minute drive south to a town called Chula Vista. There's a place called TJ Oyster. Order the smoked tuna fish taco. And I guarantee you, you will never want to eat a fish taco anywhere ever again. I mean, if that sucker was just 30 minutes more north of where I'm at, I'd be eating there once a week. It is the greatest Mexican food you will ever eat. And that's a bold statement for a lot, but I'm not joking, guys. This sucker, whether it's in a burrito or in a taco, I don't really like corn tortillas, but this thing makes corn tortillas taste good. That's how amazing it is. And it's better with the corn tortilla because they cook it just enough to where it's a little crispy. And my God, the sauce in there with the smoked tuna, it's almost like you eat meat. It doesn't taste like fish. It is the greatest fish taco you will ever eat. One time I ate 18 of them. And you want to know the funny thing about that? They $4.50 a taco. They're $4.50 per taco. Ever paid $4.50 for one little taco? That's how good it is. And it's worth every cent. I used to pay $3 back in the day. Obviously, prices went up, but my God, it is freaking amazing. So anyone who goes to San Diego, TJ Oyster, and God willing, if things continue to go the way they're going, I'll bring it to Temecula. I will franchise that sucker and bring it to Temecula, and I'll invite anybody here that's in Southern California to my restaurant. You guys can eat and drink for the night. It'll be a celebration. So what was I? Let's see. Joe was on fire that night. Number 18. What? I can't remember. Dante. What was I talking about? Was that when I was growling those last few nights when I was sick? Boy, that Rose Bowl took a lot out of me, man. I tailed the sickness to probably that game because I remember I was around 96,000 people. Obviously, it was a pretty big game. And then, oh, sorry, now I got it. I'm sorry, Dante. I totally forgot about the 18. Yeah, 18 of them. Yeah, it was, and I ate them all. By the way, I was full at the end though. It was full. But when I got back from the Rose Bowl, I felt myself. I think on that Wednesday, getting a little under the weather, and then it was full blown that Friday. And I mean, this sucker took me out. I had a head cold, a fever, and a sore throat, and I never get a sore throat. Never. I've gotten fevers. Uh, you know, I usually get them maybe every 2, 3 years. Head cold. Shoot, I can't remember the last time I had a head cold. I've gotten headaches, but I don't remember a head cold. But boy, that sucker almost took me out, man. I was death's bed. But it created good content. I sounded extremely angry for a few days and got my frustrations out on the show. And that's the thing here, guys. As much as it's therapy for you, it's therapy for us too. For us to just be able to get on here and shoot the you know what and get some feedback from it. And it's always kind of like I don't know. Sometimes I go like, do I really need that? I mean, come on, go take care of your own problems. Why do you don't need to go and express yourself to the crowd? But then when it comes down to entertainment, it does serve a purpose. Although I'm not ever going to do a TED talk. Like I'm never going to be that guy. I want to talk amongst my friends. You guys are all my friends. And when there's an important question that you want to ask, or I need to ask a question and get a good answer, I feel like I'm talking to my friends. I'm not just going out on you know, some kind of, I don't know, diatribe with a bunch of strangers in a dark room with some big lettering in the back going, you know what? This is what you need to do with your life. and this will make you feel better. No, no, I don't think that'll ever be the situation. But let's see here, Los Compadres on Sunset, close to Dodger Stadium. I haven't checked that place out. Usually, I like to get in and out of Dodger Stadium. Um, I'm gonna have to try. You know what? I got tickets as a gift. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get the opening night. Like it's in February, I can find out which game I can pick. My guess is I'm not gonna be able to get opening night, opening day. But I might need to pick a day where I can just go to a Dodger game, maybe 3 or 4 hours before it starts, and start looking around the area. It's a lot easier when I'm by myself to these games because usually most people can't go in and out like I can. So Darren, I'll check that place out. I'll see how good their margaritas are, and I'll maybe if there's a show going on around that time, maybe I'll broadcast from what is it, Compadres? Yeah, I'll definitely give that a shot if I can. Did you get an? You know what, Kurt? I'm not a big jersey wearer guy anymore. If I'm gonna wear a jersey, it's gonna have to have my name on it. Uh, I think I got emasculated by it my broadcasting mentor, John Chalestik. One time I was in class and we were discussing jerseys, and he said something like, "Yeah, I got my girlfriend a Ben Roethlisberger jersey, and we're having fun." And he kind of looked at me and said, "So you bought your girlfriend another man's jersey?" And the way he said it, I'm like, ugh, that's true, isn't it? So since that day, this was like 17 years ago. So since that day, I've struggled to wear a jersey. Like I have some nice jerseys. I have a Lamar Woodley jersey. I have a Troy Polamalu jersey. I have a Greg Lloyd jersey, a Terry Bradshaw jersey, several Kobe jerseys, even his Lower Marion jersey. Can't I can't wear them. They're decorations now in my closet. Let's see, Joe Jeff. Jeff wants to get to a game. You mean Empire, Jeff? I got to talk to Jeff anyways. Again, him talking about the Dodgers. I wasn't sure if he was going to start doing segments of the Dodgers shows, and since we're going to be doing, uh, you know, the nightcap, it's inevitable that we're going to probably have to talk about the Dodgers. This is a Lakers show, but we're also going to be coming down into an off season here where we're going to have to kind of keep things a little bit more broad. So I'll talk to Jeff and I'll see if maybe there's a game we can go to where we can maybe do a little live feed and get everybody kind of involved in what's going on. Maybe if it's one of those bottom of the ninth type games where we can play it live, and then as the Dodgers end up maybe getting a game winning hit, you guys can see the live feed from there. I do want to get back into a Laker game here before the end of the year. I'm hoping that the Lakers can make a run here where we're excited about going into the playoffs, and then maybe at that point we can go ahead and do that. I'm a Bears fan. I'm always have people chatting with me when I rock my Peyton jersey. Man, I grew up around a lot of Bears fans. A lot of my uh, intercultural types, uh, when they first came to America, went to Chicago, and then they migrated to the West. So, so in the late '80s, as I was starting to get old enough to understand sports, and then of course the '90s, I was in the heyday of the Chicago sports landscape. Maybe not the Cubs as much. I mean, the Cubs did go to an NLCS in '89. They lost to the Giants, but the Bears and Ditka, they were 11-5 type teams at that point. And they were reeling off their Super Bowl win in '85, '86. But then, of course, Chicago and the Bulls, owned the '90s, and all you saw were just Bulls, Bulls, Bulls everywhere you went. It was pretty taxing. Mission Joe does not cuss at himself, only other people. uh, it's interesting. I talked to Gerald about the cursing, and turns out that, and again, I haven't delved into the YouTube culture yet. Um, I know it's very temperamental, but I, cursing does put a nice button on things. But I also want the show to be as viable in terms of monetarily reasons as it can. The more audience we can bring in, the better the show gets, and obviously the more benefits we can throw at you guys, and that's ultimately what we want. We want to share what's going on here, because I believe this thing is going to escalate into a very big part of the Laker culture, and it's a matter of, do we want to be, if you watch superhero movies, they don't cuss in those things, really. I mean, I guess if you're watching the rated R ones like Deadpool and Logan and things like that, well, ones that were rated R's, but it's gonna have to be something specific like that, to where it makes sense and it doesn't. It's not a detriment to the show's ability to continue to bring in larger audiences. And going back and forth on the discussions, going from Lakers to Dodgers to social discussions to maybe some politics every now and then, that brings in a bigger crowd. It brings in people that are engaged and maybe know a little bit more about those things. And then, of course, we correlate that with the Lakers and the surrounding sports, because that's ultimately what will make your show big. That's what we were taught. That's what I was taught by my mentor, where you want to identify, you want the regular housewife to identify with who you are, which is why we'll bring in examples of certain aspects of the Lakers' execution on certain days, and how that can kind of determine kind of a similar path to how certain people live their life. And that's kind of how that goes. But I do want to thank you all for coming on here tonight for the first solo nightcap with Joe Soro. There's going to be much more to come here. The show will see a lot of production value in the upcoming weeks. I'm going to continue to scale it up. And again, any questions that you want, you guys know to get on here and go ahead and throw that our way. I welcome them. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Uh, and we've been getting a lot of emails here the last couple of days on this, and that's been very encouraging, knowing that there is a huge interest with this and a huge interest in what we're saying. And we're going to continue. And Gerald, I'll have Gerald come in every now and then, some of the boys to come in to get some dialogue back and forth. I want to make sure that you all know that, back and forth is usually always my favorite. Solo act is fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy sitting here and talking to everyone, but I do like a team kind of atmosphere, and going back and forth on answers and questions and answers, going back and forth, so that you guys get the full brunt of everything. And we will keep grinding, Kurt. I will keep grinding. I do greatly enjoy this. Just enjoy. Uh, I enjoy I want to thank Gerald for the opportunity. I can't thank Gerald enough. I can't thank Sean and Laker Tom and Jamie and the original guys on here. I came here a little bit later than everyone, and of course some of the newer guys that are coming in, like John, and guys that chime in every now and then, like Prior Jeff. This is supposed to be a way for us to really enjoy what we're doing, and of course, if there's a way we can make a living out of it, that's an interesting plus. And you guys are all going to be here, and with some luck on some of the extracurricular things that we're doing outside the show, that will bring more resources to the show and build a bigger show. Those things you guys will be hearing more and more this year in the next 3 to 6 months. But with that, again, I want to thank you all for showing up tonight. I will tease on our next show. It's Lakers Nightcap will generally be after the games. I mean, tonight wasn't a game, but I did want to do a solo show to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. Nothing's definite. It could be one of those weeks where I do a show every day. Could be 5 days a week, could be after every game. But I'll keep you guys informed on everything, and then we'll obviously you obviously know what's going on. And if you have any questions, please beforehand. For those of you who listen to the show after its live feed on Apple or Spotify, again, email us or message me, and then we'll answer any questions, or if you have any requests, we'll go ahead and honor those as well. But until then, thank you for being here tonight with us. Have a great evening. Enjoy your nightcap. I know I will. And until next time, we'll see you next time.